Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos. It is a kind of a nice evening here in Huntington, a little hot and humid, but other than that, a beautiful, beautiful day. The sun was out. The dogs spent a lot of time outside today. I didn't, but beautiful day, except for the humidity. But I guess that's July for you, which we're almost through the July. Next week, next Sunday night into Monday is Rosh Chodesh Elul, which means we're 4 weeks away from the high holidays. So 5 weeks and counting. All right, we are going to start with Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat. We have Suzanne here this evening to bench licht to light the Shabbos candles, a candle.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Suzanne. All right, let's continue on page 9 with the responsive reading in English. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. All right, let's continue. Jump ahead to page 20 for Lecha Dodi, from the mystical city of Tzfat, up in the north of in the Galil, up in the green part of Israel, up in the mountains. Beautiful, beautiful little city, modern and ancient at the same time. It's where the Mekubalim, the Kabbalists from Tzfat, are located. And that first group of Mekubalim, the Kabbalists, came from Spain in 1492, after they were expelled from Spain by the powers that be. Most people remember 1492 as the year Columbus sailed across the Atlantic, but to Jews, it's the year that we were expelled from Spain. But the upside, if there can be an upside to that, was that we got the mystics of Tzfat, who left us what we now consider Kabbalah, the mystical tradition. So Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, one of those, it was a 16th century mystic, and he gave us Lecha Dodi. So verses 1, 2, 3, and 4, 8, and 9. Top of page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zakor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'miuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor ha'bracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, Lecha dodi likrat chala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech yimelucha, Kumitzei mitohavecha, Rav lahak shevet b'yemechabacha, V'hu yachamol alaychem la, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Hitna ari me'afar kumi, Livshi bigdei tifartecha mi, Al yad ben ishai beit lachmi, Korva el nafshi gehala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin usmol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai taharitzi, Al yadish ben partzi, V'nismecha v'nagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Boi b'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha ufsola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Page 22. Let's look at some verses from Psalm 92, the psalm that's dedicated to Shabbat. And we'll read the outdented paragraph in English together and then join in the Hebrew with Sadiq Katamar. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadikata hamahar yifrach, ke'erez balvanon yihiskeh shetulim beveit Adonai. B'chatzrot Eloheinu yahafrichu. O Jenuvun v'seva, v'shenim v'ra'ananim, yihiyu lehagi. Ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlatabo. Page 24, Shalom Aleichem, also another Kabbalistic song, not unlike Lecha Dodi. Page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShaharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, Malachei hashalom, Malachei elyon, Mi melech Malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem leshalom, Malachei hashalom, Malachei elyon. Mi melech Malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, we have completed welcoming Shabbat. Shabbat is with us, the Shabbos bride or the Shabbos queen. The Shabbos is with us, and we're going to continue with the Arvit service, the evening service for Shabbat. We'll begin with Chatzi Kaddish, page 145. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlik malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Bahagala, Uvizmahan kahariv, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata daham hiram v'alma v'yimeru, amen. Page 146, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Page 147, let's read responsively. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky, sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Day follows day, and no succession, and years vanish.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Top of page 148, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu B'shofeinu ufkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu Uvahem nehege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatecha atisir mimenu li'lamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 151, let's read responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, the promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. When will redemption come? Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and again, so we celebrate this power that makes us free.
Top of 152. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, nohosefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, ze eli anu v'amruhu, Adonai yimloch leolam vahed, v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, u'ga'alo miad chazak mimenu, baruch ata Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Top of page 153, Hashkivenu, the blessing after the Shema, asking God to look after us as we sleep. Top two lines, and then we'll read together in English. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Top of page 154, verses from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus, reminding us of Shabbat. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. All right, friends, we are at the Amidah, the central prayer of the evening service, actually the central prayer of all services. We're going to begin on 155 and chant together 155, 156, and 157. And then we'll continue silently through the end on 167. And you can chant along with us, follow along in the Hebrew or the English, or offer up your own personal prayer at this time. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehillateh. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehillateh. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh HaKol, Vezocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Goel Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magid, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Abraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Li'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atarav Lahoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Val Kivorot Umidol Melach Melech Nimit Umechayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata l'chayo beiti Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. So completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We're going to continue on page 160, reading together in English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 163, a little bit of hoda'ah, a little bit of gratitude, right? Recognizing the good in our lives, the hakarat hatov. And this week it was lots to be grateful for on my side. Nothing huge, but little things that tend to add up. And so I'm sure that we've all had good things happen this week. Could be something as easy, or not as easy, but as what we think as minor as getting out of bed and being able to stand up, right? That is something for which we should be grateful. So all sorts of things to be grateful for this week. And let's keep those in our thoughts as we read responsively on 163. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life, nature, harmony, and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the Supreme King.
We'll close out on 164. Shalom Rav, prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. In the last two lines, praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. Going to jump ahead to page 253, the Mishaberach, the prayer for healing. And so middle of page 253. Mishaberach Avoteinu Mikor habracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imoteinu. Makor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Pages 258 and 259, prayers for our community, and we'll read these together. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the rich and poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, yish layu ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Geulatenu. Hagen Aleha B'Evrat Chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Bracha V'Amitcha L'Rasheha, Sareha V'Yoetzecha. V'takneim b'eitza tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha, v'nomar Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Hi, friends. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. This week, it's Parshat Ekev. Ekev is an interesting word in Hebrew. We get the name Yaakov from it, and it literally means heel, like the bottom of your foot. And Yaakov is named Yaakov because he was grabbing onto Esav's heel when they were being born. But Ekev also means on the heels of something as well, right? So here we have Moshe continuing his speeches, and he says, he reminds these speeches are reminders. No one was there. No one who was alive at the time that Moshe is delivering these speeches was there when the events were happening. So he's recounting the people's history for them, those who were born in the desert. And he says, if you keep the commandments, all will be well, right? No worries. You keep the commandment, you keep the covenant, you keep the brit, the contract that your ancestors entered into with God, and all will be good. And he recalls the journey through the wilderness, and that God decided to test the people to see how they'd react. And so they needed food. And so they cried out, they wanted food, and they received the manna. And so God taught them the lesson there that one does not live by bread alone. All right, we've heard that so many times, but we don't get the end of that quote, which is, but on anything God decrees. Right? So we don't live by bread alone, but whatever God gives us. And that was what happened in the wilderness. He warns them against arrogance, right? He warns them about being too prideful. He says, when all is well, don't think it's because of your power or anything that you're really doing. It's all God. God has done it. And he reminds them that God is the one that took them out of Mitzrayim, took them out of the physical place of Egypt, or took them out of the narrow place of themselves, and that we should be grateful, that they should be grateful as well. When you defeat your enemies, Moshe reminds them, it's not because of your virtues. You are not the most virtuous of people, but it's because your enemies were idol worshipers. And when you go into the land to conquer it, you're not conquering it because you're the best or the swellest of them all. It's because God is fulfilling a promise that God made to the ancestors. He reminds them of the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav, the huge sin of betraying God and worshiping an idol, and the shattering of the tablets, the breaking of the Shnei Luchot Habrit, and that Moshe defended Bnei Yisrael. He told God, don't destroy them. I'll work with them. And they got new tablets, right? The second set of tablets. Moshe recounts the death of Aharon, but interestingly, doesn't mention the death of Miriam that preceded Aharon, right? So it's very interesting that Miriam is not mentioned, although she was a very, very important person in Moshe's life. And then finally, Moshe says, or asks the question, what does God demand? What does God really want of you? God wants you to observe the commandments. God wants you to follow those rules. God wants you to circumcise your heart, to cut the hard tissue away from your heart, the fact that you might be callous towards other people or callous towards other things, right? Circumcise your heart and don't stiffen your necks, right? Don't be overbearing. Be compassionate, especially to the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. And we've heard that repeated throughout the Torah up to this point, and we will hear it again echoed in the words of the prophets all the way through to the end of our biblical stories, taking care of the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. And most of all, Moshe says, revere God. And that, friends, is this week's Torah portion in a nutshell. All right, I'm telling you, it's the Olympics are on, and I am happier, at least on the inside, than most people are on the outside. And it's not because I like the Olympics. I only like one sport in the Olympics. And the Olympics is the only time, unfortunately, that this sport gets any press outside the specialty presses that cover this particular sport. But in the Summer Olympics, I know we have great moments. There's great moments of victory. There are great moments of upset. There's wonderful competition. And then there's the sport that I like. For me, though, this year, it's kind of a smorgasbord because there are 3 events that I find myself interested in. As a lifelong martial artist, I'll pay attention to Taekwondo. This year, karate made it into the Olympics for the first time in history. And the sport that is my Olympic love, judo. All right, judo, the gentle sport, the gentle way, is an amazing sport to watch. It is a chess game with moments of great explosive action. And the Olympics is where you get to see the best judo play in the world, right? It's an amazing thing to watch. And this year, the Olympics are in Tokyo, and their judo is taking place at the Kodokan, which is the birthplace of modern judo. So it's amazing there. And this Olympics, we've already had some wonderful things. Abe Hufume and Abe Uta, brother and sister, each won a gold medal in their respective divisions. And they became the first siblings to win gold medals at the same Olympics in the same individual sport. Although the brother was competing against the men and the sister was competing against the women. But even before the games started, there was a shadow. An Algerian judoka, an Algerian judo player, who I didn't even read his name. Withdrew from the competition because he didn't want, even before it started, because he didn't want to face an Israeli, Tohar Boutbol. He didn't want to face him. He wasn't guaranteed that he was going to face him, but he withdrew from the Olympics because he didn't want to face an Israeli. Because according to this Algerian, he supports the Palestinians and their cause. So he brought politics into the sport. Now, normally, right, in what we've come to expect is that people would roll their eyes, say, oh, that's terrible. And this Algerian would become the cover story. But he didn't. He and his coach were suspended by the International Judo Federation. They just no explanations. They just said, you're done. You're not part of our federation, which means that this particular judoka can't compete at world-class events for the length of his suspension. The Algerian Olympic Committee immediately withdrew their accreditation and sent the coach and the player home. The International Judo Federation's position made a statement saying that the position is in total opposition to the philosophy of the International Judo Federation. The International Judo Federation has a strict non-discrimination policy promoting solidarity as a key principle reinforced by the values of judo. Harsh words, strong words from the IJF. And, when people don't want to play any sports against the Israelis, the governing bodies often come out with some milk toasty kind of response. So, well, it's their choice. It's this and that. IJF said, absolutely not. This goes against our core values and the values of the art that we revere. And it's not the first time this Algerian did this. He quit the World Judo Championships in 2019, right before he was to face, yes, you guessed it, Tohar Boutbol. Now, here's the thing, right? I usually don't second guess these kinds of things, but Boutbol is a much better judoka than this Algerian. And I think the Algerian was afraid that he was going to get, his breakfast handed to him by an Israeli. So every time he has to fight this particular Israeli, he withdraws. And so, tells you a lot about that individual. The International Jewish Federation, not a Jewish Federation, I'm sorry, Judo Federation. Judo, Jews, it makes sense. Is a strong supporter of Israel's right to compete. Right? If you follow, there are times where Israel sends a team to compete and the host country says, well, we prefer it if Israel didn't send its athletes, or they shouldn't be allowed to participate because they are, violating human rights, which is funny when China says that about Israel. Right? I mean, China will say that Israel shouldn't be able to compete because they're violating human rights. Look in the mirror much, China? But the IJF has been a staunch supporter of Israel and the right of its athletes to compete for a very, very long time. And I'm so grateful that they took this stand. But the story doesn't end here. It could have ended there. And it would be, okay, so, this Algerian, put his tail between his legs because he didn't want to face a superior athlete. Fine. But there's a great twist to this. In April, the IJF suspended Iran for 4 years. All right? The country of Iran cannot send judoka to international competitions for 4 years because they refuse to let their players fight Israelis. They said, nope, we'll withdraw, we'll do this, we'll do that, but we will not compete against the Israelis. This story broke because it was revealed by a former Iranian judoka, Saeed Molaei, who claimed that he was ordered to lose in the semifinals of the 2019 World Championships so he wouldn't have to face an Israeli. He refused. And then all hell broke loose for him. He was threatened. They were ready, they wanted to kill him. So he left Iran and went and lived in Germany. Germany and the International Judo Federation helped him to escape Iran. And he lived in Germany for a couple of years and competed for the German national team. But then he decided that he was going to play for Mongolia. So now he is a judoka for Mongolia. This year, at this Olympics, he won a silver medal in the 81 kilogram division. Okay, so he was a whistleblower. What makes him special? After he won his medal, he gave a speech. And this is what he said, part of it. Thank you, Israel, for all the good energy. This medal is dedicated to you as well, and I hope Israel is happy with this victory. Todah. All right. So we have a guy who just wanted to play judo and lived in a country that didn't want to allow him to compete against some of the best judoka in the world. And so he blew the whistle and he had to leave that country. And you would think that all Iranians hate Jews, right? Because the country is very anti-Semitic, but it's not the case, right? This Saeed expressed in not just his words, but in how he handled himself during the entire Olympics with the highest level of sportsmanship. And he gives us a lesson, right? Don't judge people, right? If you heard the name Saeed Molaei, you would think, Arab, probably hates Israel, probably hates Jews. Not the case. We're used to the Algerian behavior. We're used to that. But we're not used to getting praise or getting thanked by other people. It's refreshing to see and to know that people like Saeed Molaei exist in our world. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Sam, what time is it?
It is Kiddush.
Kiddush time. Yes, that wonderful moment. Shabbat. Kiddush. And if you're making Kiddush here with us, you got to stand. It's a standing bracha. Vayehi erev vayehi boker yom hashishi. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivaham. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa. Vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi. Vayikadesh oto. Kivo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon inchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lamikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Shabbat. Page 282. We'll continue with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedulah liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'ratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamodnam. Va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim v'mahal u'shchinatu zo V'kovhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efesu Hato, Kakahatu V'Torahato, V'Adat Hayot V'Hashevota, Elevavecha. Ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, v'shamayim mimahal, v'al haaretz, v'itachat eino. Takatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nehemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz, v'yom hahu, yihyeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. We continue to observe Shloshim for Shai Selek, Maxine Yeged's nephew. This week we observed the following yardzites: Barney Kaplan, related to Ben and Saul; Charlotte Bertman, Ethel Levine's sister; Rosalie C. Schechter, Mickey Goldenberg's sister; Sophie Brodoff, Herman's wife; Terry and Mark's mother; Paul Supovitz, Sylvia's husband; Lynn Mayer's father; Olga Greenfield, Joyce Levy's mother; Fred Pastor, Ethel Levine's brother; William Solacek, Mark's uncle, Nathan's brother. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish, found on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei, v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, va'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Li'olam Olamei Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shmei Dekutsha Brichu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiram v'yomha v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. All right, friends, before we close out, just a couple of quick announcements. Services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and then again on Sunday at 9. No adult ed on Sunday. We're taking a couple of weeks off. We'll be back again, I think it's next Sunday, with our Taste of Talmud. Monday night at 6:30, our deep dive into Genesis. We have finished chapter 1, the first creation story. And now we're going to move on to chapter 2. And if you liked chapter 1, chapter 2 is a whiz bang. It's a lot of fun. So that's Monday at 6:30. You don't need to have any biblical or any Hebrew or any kind of experience. Just drop in and learn with us. Wednesday, the best little Yiddish choir anywhere, and that's at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And that's brought Scott and Tam are in charge of that. And then we'll be back next Friday for a brand new Shabbat. And so this last weekend of July, enjoy it. Enjoy your Shabbat. If you don't mind the humidity, take a walk outside. There was a nice breeze earlier today, and be grateful for the nice weather, even though it's a little bit hot and humid. I think that's it. I think that is it.
From COVID committee, do you want to remind people?
COVID committee is 6 o'clock Tuesday, Zoom.
If you're a member of the COVID committee, we have a meeting on Tuesday. You'll get the Zoom link. If you're not on the COVID committee, that's okay. We'll keep you informed with what's going on. But that's on Tuesday at 6. All right, let's close out with Adon Olam, page 321. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kivlot hakol levahado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh Vehu yiyeh b'tifara, vehu echad v'ein sheni, lahamshilo lahachbira, b'li reishi b'li tachli, v'lo ha'oz v'ha'mizra, vehu eli v'chai go'ali, v'tzor chevli b'yetzara, Vehu nisi humanosli menat kosi beyom ekra biahado afkid ruchi beiti sham biahira bimrehi geviati Adonai li velo ira. All right, let's see who says hello to us today. We'll have Mom. Shabbat Shalom from the two of us in PA. Okay, well, there's more than two of you in PA, but that's okay. But thank you. Judy Lundy, wonderful to hear the other voices. Yes, it is. And Shabbat Shalom all. Well, thank you, Judy. Shabbat Shalom to you. Special shout out to Herman Glazer saying Shabbat Shalom. To the people in the holy city of Brooklyn. Yes, Melanie and Beth and Aaron and Patty Ann. Hope Brooklyn is not as hot as it can be. And to everybody out there watching, have a great Shabbat. We'll see you soon, and be careful out there.